Yeah, hi, good afternoon. A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Aamol Chaudhary. I'm a partner with the KPMG Tech Enablement Practice. and so today, the topic that we are going to discuss uh, actually summarizes the theme of this entire event, Agri 5.0, AI, robotics, and data. So for last few decades, the focus has been on yield, which has now shifted on resilience. So when we talk about farm resilience, the new technologies, the emerging technologies actually come into picture. How can we use artificial intelligence, robotics, smart data analysis to ensure that our farms are not only sustainable, self-optimizing, but also resilient when it comes to the variability of weather, soil degradation, and unavailability of unstructured data. So we have quite a distinguished panel with us today. Mr. Goverdhan Rawat, Deputy Managing Director, NABARD. I have Alok Mukherjee. Just a moment, please. Alok Mukherjee is the Director Research at LeadsConnect. And we have Shubham Arora. Shubham is the Head of Sales and Business Development at Sarvam. We'll get into the details of the topic that I just spoke about, and we'll right away start our discussion. We'll get into it right away. There has been a bit of a delay. So two of our panelists have to bow out of the session because of the current, indigo crisis. So there are four of us. We'll try to make best of our time. So I'll start with Goverdhan, sir. Yeah. So, sir, since you have been driving the policy, the financing, and tech enablement from NABARD side, I have a question for you, that how is NABARD envisioning the transition from smart farming to resilient farming in the Agri 5.0 era? Would like to hear your views on that.
Okay, so all of you know that the entire agri value chain, if you see the entire agri value chain, right from the availability of inputs, the quality of inputs, the application of inputs. And when I talk about inputs, it's not only the agri inputs, I'm also talking about the credit as an input. So what are the challenges there? And then if you see the production system, entire production system, and the post-production system, right up to the marketing. So we all know what are the inefficiencies in this entire agri value chain. So this is one area where we are trying to address that in each segment of this, in each spoke of this entire agri value chain, what we can do. So as a development finance institution, one area that we are actually looking at is the credit part of it. That credit as an input, how we can provide credit in a very seamless way. And while credit for landholders is easy to come by because we have a very formal structure in terms of KCCs. So it's a well-defined structure. But then there is a huge segment because of the migration to urban areas. There are a lot of absentee landlords, a lot of tenant farmers, those who are practicing agriculture, but they don't have access to credit, the formal credit. Whereas the formal credit today, if you see, it's available at around 7% for normal farmers. But these farmers, those who actually practice agriculture, but they don't have access to credit. So this is one area where we are trying to address through use of technology, through use of the data that is available, and some of the innovative way, like the central bank digital currency that is there. So we are trying to address that, how it can be addressed. So that is one area that we are working on. The second area is in terms of the entire agri value chain. So we are funding, in fact, we started one of the earliest funds which is entirely focused on agri and rural in terms of providing some of these technological solution or digital solutions or the agri-tech companies to come into this boat. Although all of us know that the fintech companies investment is quite easier as compared to agri and rural. So we were one of the first to do that. And apart from that, now one government of India has also partnered with us along with Ministry of Agriculture. We are launched another fund for that. And as the first fund for agri focused fund gets closed, we are launching another fund. So that is one way of focusing on technological solutions to all these issues around the entire agri value chain. So that is one. And apart from that, we have also set up maybe around 10 incubation centers in various agri universities and IITs. They are also incubating these early stage companies, very early stage companies, by providing them the enabling infrastructure to test the technology, to commercialize the technology. So that is another area through which we are trying to see that how by using technology, bringing in some tech experts, utilizing data, how efficiencies can be brought in the entire agri value chain. That is what we are trying to do.
So my follow-up question, since you mentioned that you are actively incubating and onboarding startups, maybe fintech providers, to ensure that not only NABARD, but all the, everybody, entire ecosystem that is connected to NABARD, be it farmers, cooperatives, get the benefit out of that. So what are those programs that NABARD has been specifically running, whether it comes to funding, investing, or co-creating some of these technology solutions, whether it is in AI, robotics, or advanced data analytics. So what are the initiatives NABARD runs?
So as I mentioned, I mean, we have already launched one fund in around 2020. So that as that fund gets closed, so we are launching another fund. Okay. So another fund I also mentioned about the Agri Shore Fund, which we are implementing along with the Government of India. And the third one, again, I mentioned about the incubation centers that we are promoting. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing. And apart from that, we have also directly invested in some of the funds, some of these agri-tech funds and the fintech funds, which are addressing these solutions. So these are the areas where we are working at. And not only the entire agri value chain, as I said, the credit partnership, access to credit. So that is another. And in the just concluded session, you must have heard about chairman. That another area that we are looking at is on one side we have these agri-tech companies, the tech solution providers. On other side, on the other hand, we are working with the farmers producer companies and other community-based organizations. We are discussing about the cooperatives. So that is another big area that we are working. So it's not only the technology part for the cooperative credit cooperative societies, but also providing them different type of business opportunities, enterprises opportunities. So that is another area in terms of by providing them concessional finance, for example, for the entire cooperative sector, for having a grain storage, we are providing a concessional finance. So similarly, there are many areas we are through concessional finance, direct investment through our funds. That is what we are working on.
Oh, quite remarkable initiatives NABARD has been running. So my second question is to Shubham. See, we have AI is a dominating theme, not only of this event, but every conversation. Now, to do any launch, build, or productionize any AI intervention, you have to have really good quality data, right? So just tell us, what is Sarvam doing to ensure or to build solutions which are very, very relevant for the agri-tech or agri sector, and how are you managing this entire data value chain? How are you sourcing the data? How are you creating alternative sources of data? How are you consuming those?
Sure. First of all, I'll take the two-parter and make it into a three-parter. I think it's important to understand what Sarvam really does first before I address the two-parter. Number one, we are a fundamental research lab. We build LLMs from scratch in India, very deeply focused to India nuances, starting from financial services to governance to agriculture, healthcare, and education, right? So we build all of these large language models from scratch with a particular nuanced focus on Indian languages, because I don't think anybody is going to build for India if not us. Clearly, nobody else is really building for India, right? So we're about a 2-year-old organization, very deeply grounded on research. What sort of initiatives are we doing already for financial services and agri together? I will take this, combine both of them because I think both of them are very closely related to each other. There are two holy grails of AI. One is how can you speak to many people at once, making them believe it's a absolutely personalized conversation with them. Let's put this in the bucket of conversational AI. There's another bucket, the other holy grail of AI, which is how can you make your most important, most valued resources even more productive. Resource could be anything, right? I'll not go deeper into the resources. And I'll talk about both the sort of things that we're doing. So, by the way, one other important thing to understand is we're also building the sovereign LLM with the Ministry of Electronics and IT that we'll release just the next month. As part of that release, we'll be giving the government of India not just one model, we'll be giving a family of models. One model that will be part of this family is going to be an Agri LLM, which will be grounded in the reality of how agriculture happens in India. So for example, Masoor ki dal is said in 6 different words all across India, at the very minimum, right? Disease is pronounced in 17 different ways. Maybe you move across 100 kilometers, the definition of a disease changes, right? Fertilizers, pesticides are also called in different ways. So this is a very diverse and very rich kind of data that has not been used to build any such LLM. Imagine if you're thinking of doing any sort of agricultural intervention, there is no data. There's nobody who's consuming this data to build any LLM, right? There's whatever gets produced out, garbage in, garbage out is going to happen, right? So this is a problem that needs to be solved. Imagine all these large frontier labs have built out, after spending a couple of $100 billion, have built out LLMs that do a fair bit well in terms of, English language, multiple other domains. But imagine there is no data about agriculture or science or technology in Odia and Gujarati. There is no such data on the internet. So what we are doing is we are actually curating very high quality data here in India. And the sovereign models that will be released in January will have about 17 trillion tokens of this Indian data that we've curated in-house. And these models are going to be using that data, right? Just for context, some of these frontier labs like an OpenAI or an Anthropic also use a similar volume of data, right? This is published information. For again, another context, all of Wikipedia combined is about 250 billion tokens only. Right? So not even a trillion. So that's the kind of data that we are talking about. So just so that you understand what does it take to build a model, even to build a model, you need to spend probably about a year and a half or two to build this data set and make this very, very high quality, non-trivial effort, right? Once these LLMs are built out, what sort of interventions and solutions one can think of? Let's start with agriculture, right? Something that we're doing with feature phone providers and NPC, I'll talk about 2 such interventions. With folks like Nokia, we're building a Kisan and Swanidhi focused interface where Kisan and Swanidhi will be able to ask any question pertinent to their domain and get an answer on a feature phone. So you're actually making this very powerful technology that has immense amounts of leverage accessible to the last mile Bharatiya. You don't need even a smartphone. You don't need to know English to do this. You shoot out your problem. What is the crop rate? What is the weather going to look like tomorrow? I've suffered this disease. Help me understand how to get rid of this disease. I want to take some credit. Any question. Something like a chat GPT, but for Swanidhis and Kisans, right? This is one intervention. Another problem that I discovered that a whole bunch of our cooperative bank friends are facing with is UPI. UPI again is a little bit, while it is very inclusive, it's probably the most recognizable technology that India has built out all across the world. It's only limited to about 470 million Indians, which is again limited by smartphone users. There are 500 million smartphone users in India. What if we could make this technology completely available on feature phones so that you could do stuff like दीदी को 1000 रुपए भेज दीजिए, मेरा ये वाला bill pay कर दीजिए. Very smart technology. You don't even need to be digitally literate to be able to operate this technology. Everything in Indian languages on voice, on feature phones that do not have internet, on 2G feature phones, right? The third sort of thing, again, think of anything that a human can do on a call. These AI systems can do probably much more intelligently with 0 errors at a fraction of the cost of what a human does. So imagine, let's say in the life cycle of somebody who's interested in a credit product, from the point where a cooperative bank is thinking or a rural RRB is thinking of generating a lead, to qualifying that lead, to actually converting the lead, welcoming them within the doors of the bank, collecting missed EMIs as well, everything you can do with a bunch of interventions. And this is, again, whatever I'm saying is not something that is, on a white paper or something like that. Multiple different organizations from commercial banks to NBFCs, and now with the efforts from SSPL, a few cooperative banks are also starting to do this. So this is, let's say in a nutshell, the kind of stuff that we're doing. Yeah.
So there has to be a very close interlock between the financial ecosystem in the country and the agri ecosystem. Being a nation where almost 50% of the people are employed in this sector, out of those 50%, I think 40% of our crops are rain-fed, right? So when I have to imagine a full stack of agri-data tech platform, right? There is data coming from those traditional sources, data about people. Then there is a lot of data that is emanated by a lot of devices, whether it is sensors, IoT devices, satellite data, all of it, what I'm putting in place to study the entire agri ecosystem. So if I have to imagine this entire full stack data platform for agri-tech, okay, how do you see it? What is your imagined version of the full stack data platform for agri-tech?
Perfect. Let me take a shot at defining the data stack, and then I'll take a shot at defining the data and AI stack as well, because all of this data is only useful if there is some sort of intelligence being done on top of this, right? So there is all sorts of data. First of all, first principle needs to be you need to aggregate all of this data at one place, accessible to everybody. Let's take some inspiration where let's say some appreciation is due. So Niti Aayog did this wonderful project about 5 years ago called National Data Access Program, called NDAP. They aggregated data from about 53 ministries at one platform. Relatively simple endeavor to take, but in all of the last 10 years, it's been a little bit of an effort to make this data actually usable, right? Imagine for agriculture, there are going to be many, many, many sources, not just 53, probably 5,300 sources of credible high quality data. So number one responsibility, and I'm probably making this ask to the room, there might be some people who might be in a position to influence some of these things as well, right? So first of all, get all of this data at one place. Then somebody needs to make all of this data absolutely usable. With generative AI, I'm an AI practitioner. I'll probably apply the hammer again of AI to this problem as well. You don't need humans and data engineers and business analysts in that much volume as you would need 5 years ago. AI can do a lot of the data cleaning for you. And that's what we do for ourselves as well. We do a lot of synthetic data generation and data cleaning, right? Once this data is there, you need to also segregate them into training sources and inference sources. So what does that mean? Let's say the richness of data about all sorts of crops in India. Well, I'll probably put it in the training source and put it in the inference source as well, right? But let's say there will be some data that may not have any reason to exist in, let's say, the training here. Let's say historical prices. There's no reason for it to exist in the training source. So there needs to be some effort put in to segregate this data. And I think some effort is being put in by METI to build these AI coaches of sorts so that multiple people can use this. But I don't think it is going to be a very agri-focused endeavor. Somebody will need to take the mantle to make a agri-focused endeavor for this, right? Once all of this data is there, you wrangle across all of this data, make that data ready for training, build an LLM. Just that one base LLM is not going to be sufficient. You need to run all sorts of supervised fine-tuning, reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards, preference optimization to tailor for a Gujarat farmer versus an Andhra Pradesh farmer. That sort of tuning needs to be done because it is very fancy to imagine, that one weapon that will kill everything. That weapon does not exist, how much ever loud that dream sounds, right? So that preference optimization is also a meaningful exercise to take. Once, let's say, you have established the LLM layer, now these LLMs can open up, let's say, 20-30% of the universe to you. An LLM by itself is, although maybe most of you would have experienced an LLM in some shape or form wherever, it's not the solution. An LLM requires a whole bunch of harness around it to be able to produce meaningful results, right? So that harness around, context engineering, around memory of the user, of the organization across sessions, evals, monitoring. I'm going to be going very deep technically. I'll not go into that much technical depth, but it requires a fair bit of harness to be built around that LLM to produce any meaningful value. There is a reason why over the last 3 years, let's say post ChatGPT, you don't see anything large in production. There have been, pockets of use cases that have done pilots, people who've attempted to solve. So we work with, really sophisticated engineering teams who've also not been able to do this by themselves. So let's call this the agent orchestration layer, which will give you cake batter to build whatever applications using capabilities around deep research, around workflow automation, around agentic reasoning, conversational AI, and the ability to author low-code, no-code applications very fast.
Great.
Yeah.
So going to Alok, my question is twofold for you. One is, if you would want to add your point of view in this entire full stack of Agri data platform. Other thing is moving a little bit towards the satellite analytics, okay, and AI-based soil diagnostic. How practical use cases are being built, could be built, and what impact could it make on entire agri-tech ecosystem? If you can share your views on that.
Sure, sir. Firstly, very good afternoon, respected dignitaries on and off the desk, and thank you so much for inviting us to share our thoughts on this very important topic. Yes, I would like to start, and we are one agency which has been working for last 7-8 years and have been associated with Ministry of Agriculture also for delivering yield projects and all. Few of the things that we developed our the flagship product which we call Agri, Agriculture and Disaster Risk Analysis using Next Intelligence, a full stack agri platform, geoportal. Okay. I would like to say, because it's the August gathering, from the perspective of research, that few of the things which we need to take care, and the second question also very pertinent, the soil system side. But I will first start with this, the entire full stack idea and the LLMs, means the thing, the data and the entire full stack understanding. I would like to say with all humility that this is a country of around 130 ecological zones. Each zone has its own thresholds, local complexities, and it behaves very differently. We are also coming up with Kriti SSG at LLM, but I right now don't want to go into that. I want to go into the core scientific principles of this one. Why? So we understood one thing in this journey, that when we're talking about the full stack understanding, the entire idea of creation of agri-stack at least should not be confined to farms. It should, agriculture itself is an ecological event. An ecological event should not be addressed ignoring the ecological parameters. We should have something kind of a proxy or the synchronized parameters which should be included in the entire analysis. So it's full stack. So it's not just about the data stack, the analytics, it is about the connecting the entire value chain from when we say digitalization. So we need to, I want to, I'll take a few minutes to explain it in detail. That from onboarding to the last mile, this reaching out to everyone. And when we are seeing the alerts and advisory at the farm level and hyper-local, with all responsibility, humility, and all conviction. Right now, we have a current reach of the farms. I'm not saying that like 100 million, we are around 160 districts currently working for delivering services for different central nodal agencies. In fact, in Karnal, we are also one of the appointed partner by NABARD also for the advisories for the FPOs and at the hyper-local level, the farm level and all. When we developed some proprietary algorithms from this, the entire idea of full stack, the proprietary algorithms like agriculture credit scores, the crop fertility scores, the value chain score. Actually, the entire journey started with one very kind of a mother of everything, land utility score. Everything else is subsidiary. Right now, we are talking about data. When we talk about data, it's not just about the unavailability or something. The consistency is the issue. When we delivered a project very successfully to the central nodal agencies and generated more than 500 scenarios for yield, we understood one thing, that when we build intelligent systems, and we also employed generative AI principles and architects and all, but we understood one very basic thing and very important thing, that suppose it's a kind of a Bayesian architecture, the conditional trees and all. Our one parameter is totally dependent on like a multifold parameters and all. I need to have the understanding of entire thing. So on 25th of June, I would like to just share with this August gathering, we launched one very kind of a plugin to our flagship product Agri that we call Devi, Development Indices Subsati, satellite and photograph analytics, using what? Scores. So 10 proprietary algorithms we built to understand to decipher constitute the dynamics of the entire ecosystem to handle the agricultural event. Second, heuristic, the entire understanding, why it is happening. Association, if it is there, how it is related to the other parameters. And then the transition dynamics. If we say something, there is any deviation, so what can we do? Now, a very important question considering the soil diagnostic. Remote sensing is and actually has been playing a huge role in this regard also. Why? And I'll again come to this, the data aspect of the intelligence systems also. So under this Devi Sapsati initiative only, we launched one pan-India score which we call SOL, Soil Utility Level Score. I would like to share one thing. The traditional understanding, conventional understanding is that whenever you want to have understanding of the soil dynamics, you go to the field with sensors, get the data, and it's not scalable. It's very much required to build intelligent systems and all. But what we have to do? So we developed a proprietary algorithm using satellite analytics that how to mimic, how to understand the soil health. So remote sensing played space tech AI played a very instrumental role to construct the soil health in the context of soil organic carbon quantification, moisture, and how is it going to affect the other aspects of the agro ecosystem. And most importantly, just a while ago I said one thing, scores, heuristic, association, and transition insights. So it means sometimes we may not have the data at that level which is required to build an intelligent system. So we need a proxy architecture. So if the physiological stress is somewhere seen through the satellite derived indices, then it means there can be an issue with the soil side also. So we build a deep, very architecture for this association understanding also. So space tech AI is playing a role, and we have developed algorithms and demonstrated on the field also, and shown also that the data that we get through the sensors and through these proprietary algorithms are in sync and positively correlated, and very much required to understand one thing. This is the era of climate change and the weather aberrations. So many gaps are there. The things that we have seen in the last decade, we may not see in the next decade, and the things will change very fast. Yeah. So we need to fill these gaps. So here, space tech AI will be playing a key role, but yes, how are we building these intelligent systems will be the key. AI, how we are going to use AI is the solution.
Yeah, so the platform, solutions, models will continue to evolve. Considering the paucity of time, I have a last question to Rawat sir. That what are the gaps that you see in the rural digital infrastructure which could prevent or which could delay the implementation of this Agri 5.0? And what is it that you think should be done or is being done to fill those gaps?
Yeah, I think everybody talked about the structured data, the availability of data. So that is, I think, one key area. And if you see what the government is doing to address that is the entire agri stack that we are talking about. That entire agri stack, if we have that data related to the farm, farmer, and farming, three data which the agri stack is trying to capture. And if that gets structured, because why I'm saying structured is when we are trying to address some of the issues related to EKCC. So every state has a different unit for measuring a land. So now structuring that. So I mean, just a simple thing like as simple as that. So once this data gets captured, properly structured, I think a lot of solutions can be built on top of that. So that is what I think the government priority on digital agriculture mission last year with the government announced. So that's a huge step towards that, because if that happens, and not only agriculture, similar effort is being made towards fisheries. Similar effort is being made for other allied activities like livestock. So if that data gets captured, and then the agri-tech and fintech companies come on top of that, that's being taken by Government of India. And on one hand, this all the technologies type aspects where we are talking about how do we bring in technology to bring that transformational change that is required in the agriculture sector. At the same time, when it comes uh, to application at the ground level, another area that is crucial is affordability of that. So whatever solution we are providing, whether it is affordable. Another challenge is how user-friendly is that. So that is another area. So the technology is there, but it may not be user-friendly for that particular. And like both of them mentioned about every region and every season has a different problem and different type of challenge. So you can't have one solution fitting or addressing everything. So that is another area that whatever solution you are giving, whether it is user-friendly, easy to use, so that is another aspect that. So whenever you are talking about technology and providing that any type of solutions, affordability, usability, and then data, all these things are part of it. And then I think government is taking up the right step, that digital agriculture mission that I spoke about, similar things in other areas of agri-allied and agri fisheries sector. So I think the steps are in the right direction. Another area is in terms of how we reach out to the communities, to the farmers, those for whom it is required. So that is where I think the community-based model in terms of the farmers producer organizations and how these two entities interact with each other. So on one side, we have a farmers producer organizations or a cooperative societies, and on the other side, this side. So it helps to interact both of them. The farmers bring in their problem statement and they provide the solutions to that. So we need to have a strong community-based organization at the grassroots level, and then these technology solutions from the other side.
Maybe a strong public and private partnership. And as you summarize it pretty well, the problem and also the solution lies in the quality of data or lack of it, right? So this is what is driving the conversation.
I'd just like to address two of the problem statements that you mentioned, sir. One was around, availability of good quality data. The second was around dissemination of information. Some things that we are doing, let's say, to gather very high quality farm data. So we are conducting the digital crop survey with about 8 crore farmers as we speak. historically this crop survey has never been completed. So probably by January 30th, this digital crop survey will have reliable data, verifiable data of 8 crore farmers on what
Great.
they are growing actually.
So, this is a subject where we can have endless conversation. The time is never enough. But thanks a lot for your time. And thanks to the audience as well. Thank you very much to NABARD for organizing this entire summit and this panel. So thanks a lot for sharing these really, really valuable insights. It was a pleasure.